Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the good transportation chair from the 27th for all of his good work on this transportation budget. It's definitely been a transparent process, and it's been a process that's included all the leadership, and for that I'm very respectful. There's a lot of great needs that we have in this state on transportation, and there's been a lot of decisions that have been made by previous bodies. And we need to be true to those commitments. Obviously, all of us would like to see all of the transportation projects in our districts fully funded today, but that's not going to happen. And so this budget is taking careful examination, a careful approach from the chair and the leadership on both sides to make sure that everything that was committed to in the past is being taken care of in this biennium and in the bienniums to come. I'm excited to see that the Spokane transportation project that was moved in the governor's budget was moved back to where it's supposed to be. And we could give examples of those kind of projects all across the state that got moved back to where they're supposed to be. There was a lot of work done with the ferries. And the ferries are a great need in many communities in the state. And I was encouraged by the work of the chair and the leadership team and making sure that the ferry needs were addressed, not only in this biennium, but in the bienniums to come. There was also great work done with the state patrol budget and the needs that were asked for there. And so it's not a perfect budget, but a budget that included all sides. I felt as a member of the leadership team that my opinion was always heard, it was always considered. It didn't mean it was always accepted, but for the most part, it was always taken very well. And so I appreciate the good work from the chair, the good work from the leadership team, and I encourage a yes vote today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rising in support of this legislation. This bill does many, many things, and I'm very pleased with and appreciate the bipartisan approach the chair and the ranking member bringing along a piece of legislation that is well thought out, strategized, and focuses on the critical needs of many districts in the state of Washington. It does something that's very important to me. Our Washington State Patrol has been struggling with a crisis of recruitment and retention at the agency. It's not a great time to be a police officer. So this has several strategies in it that will incentivize the recruitment and retention of our Washington State troopers and hopefully be able to address, Mr. Speaker, the rising fatality rate on our highways. It makes other improvements at the Department of Transportation and all of its subsidiaries, as well as the Department of Licensing and other transportation agencies. This bill focuses, Mr. Speaker, on maintenance and preservation more than other bills in the past. It's moved up the timeline, as was the previous speaker spoke of, on important projects throughout the state of Washington, and it funds new projects that are critical in almost every district of this state. It will improve our transportation system. It will improve our safety. It will increase the strategies for safety measures all across the state. It will improve mobility in our congested areas, and it will reduce congestion in some of the growing areas of the state, including my 31st district. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to you. I asked you to join me in a yes vote, as well as the rest of my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, today you've heard a lot of good things about this budget, so I won't reiterate all of the work about the projects and the various things that have been done. What I'd like to talk about today, Mr. Speaker, is how important it is when we work together. You know, it's a long way from last year, a distant memory of the challenges that we had last year on this very floor, working through some very difficult situations when it came to the new package and the budget and the integration and still dealing with the COVID stuff, Mr. Speaker, and the hybrid and everything else. But it's good, Mr. Speaker, to say the band's back together this year. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to work with my good friend, the good gentleman from the 27th, the chair of this fine committee, and his outstanding vice chairs, and also the great assistant rankings who helped throughout this process. Mr. Speaker, many in this chamber might not know, but we literally start day one of session. We start to work together in what we call budget cabinet. And this is unique to this budget, and I would highly recommend other budgets maybe consider this in the future, that we actually meet in a room together, working line by line, number by number, agency by agency, to make sure that the product that we bring before this body today is the best possible policy, the best possible budget. And I'm confident this year that we have really done a good job and hit that mark. I'm confident this year, Mr. Speaker, that this budget reflects the priorities of Washington State. I'm confident that what we did by taking a look at the projects, we took a look at every corner of this state. We didn't just focus on one region, Mr. Speaker. We looked at the entirety of the state. We looked at our small communities, our large communities, east, west, every corner. Because, Mr. Speaker, the entire state is important. The entire state moving forward, the entire state's transportation network is important. Mr. Speaker, the work that we've done over the years, and especially again this year with our fine state patrol, is something to be commended. And that work cannot stop this session. We must continue that work. Our work to assure that our ferry system is the best in the world, Mr. Speaker, is reflective in this budget. As far as our workforce, the capital development, the new ships, all of the things that are important to keep the people moving in the state of Washington. Mr. Speaker, there are a lot of things in this budget that are challenging too, but I will say that through those challenges come some of our greatest opportunities. And one of the challenges, Mr. Speaker, is that we saw the impact what happens when we delay projects. We saw the cost to the taxpayer and the challenges that we've had to find those dollars to keep things moving. So, Mr. Speaker, we have dedicated some resources to find better ways of delivering these projects, how we can work with our local governments, those who are ready to get these projects done on time, within budget, within the focus of what the monies that we have set aside for them. Mr. Speaker, this is going to be huge as we move forward with the work that we do in the future when we look at appropriating the dollars to make sure that these things get done. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm excited, and yes, I am glad that the good gentleman from the 27th agrees with me, and I too agree with him that this is a great budget, and I encourage the body to support it today with a very strong yes vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.